To worry about a game-time decision tonight for Kawhi Leonard. The team found out Tuesday afternoon that their leading scorer will not play in Game 5 against Dallas at Crypto.com. Kawhi still has inflammation in his right knee. This will be the third game Kawhi has missed in the first-round series. The Clippers are 2-0 in this series without Kawhi. In the two wins, the Clippers are averaging 21 more points and shooting 50%. Don't get it twisted. No one in Clippers Nation is saying the team can contend for the Western Conference title without Kawhi. For the Clippers to go deep in the NBA playoffs, it's pretty much understood that they will need a healthy Kawhi Leonard. 7 p.m. tip-off tonight on TNT. After 1 month of the Major League Baseball season, Dodgers shortstop Mookie Betts leads the majors with a .377 batting average. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the fastest growing talk radio station in Southern California. Home to 50,000 watts and an audience reach of 12 million listeners. KBLA Talk 1580 is a pioneer for black audio content, including our groundbreaking $2 million climate justice campaign and the most loyal, influential audience. According to an independent research study by the polling firm Aviterus, for the second consecutive year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the most trustworthy, reliable, and credible news source for black audiences and beyond in Southern California. Let KBLA Talk 1580 power your advertising dollars. Our omni-channel custom marketing solutions are specifically tailored to connect with your ideal target audience. We leverage audio, podcasts, streaming, digital, social media, and local activations to get your message out to the black community. Get in touch with our advertising team today at advertising@KBLA1580.com. That's advertising@KBLA1580.com. KBLA 1580. We've got you black.
1, 2, 3, go! I'm gonna try to keep it coming. Things ain't always smooth, but I'll be alright as long as I can find the groove. Yes, I will. Yeah. Somehow I know that I can make it. You seem to like my style. Don't you worry, I'm gonna be around a while. Yes, I will. I'm just happy to see you talk to me back and smile again.
Live from historic Limerick Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavissmileyshow.com. That's thetavissmileyshow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, Carl Hart, chair of the Columbia University Psychology Department, is back with his latest research into what he calls drug use by grown-ups. You might have seen the news yesterday that the Biden administration is moving now to reclassify marijuana and ease restrictions. So the timing of this conversation with Carl Hart could not be more propitious. Look forward to our second hour. In our third hour today, two conversations. Up first, America's most visible death doula, Alua Arthur, joins us to explore how reframing our perspectives on death can help lead us to better lives, to more fulfilling lives, and more authentic lives. We look forward to that conversation at the top of hour three, I should say. On the B side of hour three, inclusion strategist Amber Cabral on teaching people to be good humans and shifting the narrative on DEI. Imagine that. Look forward to that dialogue on the backside of hour three. So 2 good hours in front of us. But I am delighted today to commence the show with comedian, writer, producer, and actor Larry Wilmore. Before we get to Larry Wilmore, here we grow again. Here we grow again. I am pleased to welcome almost a dozen new affiliates to whom I am grateful for carrying this program. Give me a second to run this list, and we'll jump right into our dialogue with Larry Wilmore for the rest of the hour. Let me thank Milwaukee, Wisconsin, WNOV, 860 AM, 106.5 FM. Milwaukee, welcome. We love you. Detroit, Michigan, WGPR, 107.5. Thank you, Detroit. The Big D, Motown. Orlando, Florida, WHPB, 98.5 FM. Welcome. Muskegon, Michigan, WUVS LP 103.7 FM, Montgomery, Alabama, WUMO 94.5, Natchez, Mississippi, the SIP is in the house, WMIS 1240 AM, Jonesboro, Arkansas, KLEK 102.5 FM, Albuquerque. Who says anybody listening in Albuquerque? Albuquerque, New Mexico. KMGG 99.9 FM, Benton Harbor, Michigan. WVBH LP 105.3, Marshall, Texas, KBWC 91.9 FM, and Flint, Michigan, WFOV 92.1 FM, about a dozen stations there, new stations, adding the Tavis Smiley Show, and I am deeply grateful, I am humbled by all of these affiliates that are allowing us to expand this program across the country from California to the Carolinas. But if you note, listen to that list, we are expanding pretty aggressively now into swing states like Michigan and Wisconsin. Joe Biden can't pull this off without Michigan and Wisconsin, certainly not without Michigan, with all those electoral votes. And so it's going to be a fascinating year, as you well know. But I'm just, again, thrilled that so many stations all across the country, about a dozen today, adding the Tavis Smiley Show to their lineups. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As I said, I am humbled and I'm grateful. That said, now to Larry Wilmore. Insecure, Blackish, The Bernie Mac Show, Comedy Central, The PJs, pretty impressive, right? I could, of course, go on if I had the time, but that's enough to get us started. What a career, and he ain't done yet. Pleased to welcome Larry Wilmore to this program. Larry, how are you, sir?
Good. Thanks, Tavis. What a nice introduction. So nice to be here. By the way, on radio, how old school and cool is this, right?
Hey, we're still here. We're still here, Larry. We're still here.
I know. It's like, do people even have radios anymore? Like, how does this work? What is that thing with the sound where it comes out? What is that thing?
You know, what's amazing about that is that people joke about that all the time, and yet the data about this,
Right.
Larry, is pretty incontrovertible. This probably won't surprise you, given that you're an old school guy as I am.
Yeah.
But radio is still the preferred choice of African American listeners all across the country. All the podcasts,
Yeah.
and by the way, we're doing a live program right now. When this program's done, we'll strip out the commercials
Right.
and post it as a podcast. So we're on radio.
Right.
We have a podcast. They're watching us right now on YouTube. You can listen on the app all around
Wow.
the world. I mean, we're hitting people anywhere and everywhere they are to hear the audio content
Yeah.
that we're providing. But it's fascinating that radio is still the way to reach African Americans in particular.
Well, we have a history of being connected to the radio culturally and that sort of thing. And we've had different, DJs and hosts who've been, connected to the community and that kind of thing. It's a real rich history. I'm actually developing a show with Ludacris right now, kind of based on his early days as a DJ in Atlanta.
Oh, cool.
And some of the things he did. And it's really exciting to go back and remember those times, before, podcasts and all that stuff, and the certain kind of controversies we're in today, and what it was like when when the game was changing back then. It's really fun.
Yeah. No, radio is alive and well, as evidenced by the dozen stations that we just mentioned, almost a dozen that are adding this program today. And again, I'm thankful to all those stations. Thankful to Larry Wilmore for the hour. There's a whole lot to unpack. I just mentioned some of the shows that he's produced and created. What a legacy in this business called Hollywood. But beyond that, he has had his a number of platforms, including his own podcast now, where he sounds off on the issues of the day. And I've got a few issues I want to put in front of him to take his temperature on. But speaking of radio, there would have been no civil rights movement as we know it had it not been for black radio. Dr. King didn't have a podcast. For that matter, never had a radio program, didn't have an app, didn't have a YouTube channel, didn't have didn't have Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, and yet he taught the nation in that movement how to protest. And the only platform that he had available to him was Black radio. So thank God for Black radio. Just getting started with Larry Wilmore on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
Hey y'all, Mona Swain here from Target's new YouTube series, My Cart is Full, where we feature Black founders and creators highlighting their connection to our community. As an actor and content creator, I love using my voice to inspire young Black women who look like me. When it comes to feeding my shine, seeing myself reflected in Black-owned and founded products at Target brings me joy. Together, we are Black Beyond Measure. Learn more at target.com/Black Beyond Measure.
Cookie wants to be a professional wrestler.
I'm Cookie Serratos and I'm 11 years old.
She also wants to win all the medals. That's why Cookie and her family make every day count, squeezing out her best with Go-Go Squeeze.
Okay, Cookie, let's break for a Go-Go Squeeze.
Go-Go Squeeze Fruit on the Go pouches are a nutritious snack made from 100% fruit with no sugar added.
Call Cookie!
Because when you nurture your kids, you squeeze out the best in them. Squeeze out the best with Go-Go Squeeze. Not a low-calorie food. Products range from 11 to 13 grams of sugar and 60 to 70 calories per serving.
Life can throw unexpected challenges our way. Black families need support. Children require safe, loving, temporary homes. Research shows that children in foster care thrive best when they remain in their own communities. The strength and love within the Black community can provide a sense of belonging. We need your help to consider opening your hearts and homes. Contact fosterlakids.org today or call 888-811-1121. Again, 888-811-1121. Become a foster parent today.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZzzQuil.
ZzzQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZzzQuil nights. Explore our products at ZzzQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The thing no one tells you about periods is that your flow changes every day, and so should your tampon size. Tampax has 5 absorbencies to match your changing flow. If it hurts to remove, go down a size. If it leaks, go up a size. Only Tampax has a leak guard braid to help give you up to 100% leak and odor-free protection. All-day comfort and protection for under $5 a month. Based on average U.S. consumer usage at manufacturer's suggested price. However, pricing is at the sole discretion of the retailer. Excludes 8-count.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
This is Tavis Smiley in conversation with Larry Wilmore. Delighted to have him on. Television producer, actor, comedian, writer for more than 25 years. Currently heard as host of Larry Wilmore Black on the Air on the Ringer Podcast Network. But pleased to have him on this program today. Larry, I was walking the studio today trying to figure out where I even wanted to, where we'd even commence this conversation. There is so much news. There's so much breaking news. There's so much going on in the world. So let me just start with a broad question, and we'll jump from there. So I just heard you say crazy. What is your take on the world that we are inhabiting right about now? And we'll jump from there.
Well, you always have turning points in history and that sort of thing, and sometimes when you're inside of it, it's kind of hard to realize what's going on, but it certainly feels that way right now in a number of ways, that we're in some kind of transition in terms of how we view power, of how we view, even our government, those types of things. Some of the things that are happening on both the right and the left are not just overturning and having different ideas about culture, but different ideas about governing. I mean, this whole MAGA movement, is based on the fact that, Donald Trump actually wanted to change the votes. I mean, it's crazy in that he feels aggrieved because of that, And there's a whole grievance mentality that has nothing to do with policies or anything that has kind of taken over how we view government should be run. You know, it's really kind of scary that because it's outside of even regular partisan politics and how we view what a democracy is, whether we agree with policy or not. It's just different, you know. So that kind of worries me a lot. And our whole notion of allyship in the world is changing also. I mean, there was never a question that Israel was an ally, you know, and or that we were going to support a country against, let's say, Soviet Union or Russia. And now all that is thrown up, you know, it's up for grabs now. You know, people are re-examining these things, you know, in ways no one could have predicted even a few years ago, you know, and who knows where that's going to go and what that's going to mean to the dynamics in the world, you know. We know how important the Middle East is, not just to our country, but to the globe, you know, in many different ways, not just about Israel and Palestine. There's a whole dynamic in that Middle East that is of strategic importance to not just us, but the rest of the world. So I look at kind of those macro issues, and you could go to the micro part of it too, which we all can relate to also. But the macro part, I mean, Tavis, this is definitely a shift right now that's happening that we're in the middle of, you know, and sitting right next to that is China, who's looking at it all going, yep, keep going. We'll see. I'm just going to sit over here and just, you know, just let all, like those James Bond movies, it's Spectre, you know, just let them fight it out. I'm just going to stay here and see what happens in the end. So that's kind of my global kind of, you know, just look at it. I'm just really kind of fascinated by it. You know, I've been into history a lot the last few years, so I look at this kind of with the historical lens as well.
Let me go back to your initial thesis that you, where you suggested that it feels like we're in sort of some kind of transition, and I receive that, I accept that, I don't disagree with it. I guess the question though, Larry, is what do you think we are transitioning to? I mean, this audience has been saying this all the time. I try to always refer to this space that we live in called the U.S. of A. as an experiment in democracy. I believe that we have a Madisonian framework for democracy, but we haven't quite achieved that. Never mind our intent and our behavior and our actions to try to spread democracy around the globe. We ain't perfected it yet here at home. I digress on that point for now. But we're in this journey of this experiment, rather, of democracy, and so there are moments where we have to do these sort of check-ins to see, I think, where we are in this particular journey. So when you say that it feels like we're in a transition, what's it feel like for you that we're transitioning to, if that makes sense?
Well, let me point out two areas where the attacks on the democracy are happening in real time that, to me, are some of the things that help to protect the democracy.
Okay.
And that's both the press and what has been called just the institutional government, not the partisan government, but the institutional government, or as the right calls it, the deep state.
The deep state, yeah.
Right, but what the deep state really is, let's start with that first. It's really institutional knowledge. It's people who are in the government all the time. They're separated from partisan politics, and they're the people who actually run the government, you know. And you need these people for their knowledge of how government works, of how systems work, of, you know, even relationships between countries and things like that. That's why we have certain nonpartisan roles in the government, you know, everything from the CIA to all kinds of things, right? So part of what the right has been doing, which I think is very destructive, is they have been attacking the institution as some partisan thing that is destroying government, when in fact they're dismantling one of the checks on government, you know, and the other is the press. You know, the press is one of the things that freedom of the press, freedom of speech is another checks on out of control democracy, when you're free to speak about something and free to cover something, no matter what it is, from the right or the left or in the middle or whatever. Now, Trump attacking the press in the way he did, to me, has deteriorated our trust in the press more than anything that has ever done. And that deterioration means we don't know what to trust. Once you lose trust in the people who are delivering us what is supposed to be the truth, well, what are we going to count on as the truth? You know, what do we rely on, Tavis? Honestly, you know, you're left to just stay in your bubbles and be influenced by confirmation bias all the time, things that are just feeding the things that you already believe to be true, rather than confronted with things that you may have a conflict with, because the truth doesn't care about your opinion.
Yeah, let me push back on that gently. This is getting good around here, as we say. This is getting good.
Sure.
Let me push back gently. I don't disagree with your thesis. I don't disagree with your analysis, but I do want to push back in this regard, if I can, Larry. I don't believe. Let me start with your latter point, and I'll work my way back. I don't believe, as much as I used to, that the media is ultimately about getting at the press, to use your term, is ultimately about getting at the truth as much as they are about profit. I am getting more and more concerned about the corporate media in this country. As you know, because of this monopolistic bent that we now have in this country, monopolistic bent, privatization, I could do this all day long. They're really just a handful of people who control pretty much everything we see and read. And I see that as a corporate media takeover that is more concerned about profit than it is about truth, number one. Number two, while I do believe that that you need an independent and free press, I just said yesterday on this program, quoting a great thinker, that in any sort of war, the truth is always the first casualty, right? And so that's why Donald Trump is engaging his behavior. But speaking of Donald Trump, that you raised a moment ago, the media created Donald Trump. And I never want us to lose sight of that, because we're in a moment right now where they are hell-bent doing everything they can to destroy him, in some respects at least, and make sure that he doesn't get reelected. But this is the same media that created Donald Trump. They gave him all that free access to the airways. Bernie Sanders couldn't get a tenth as much exposure and press as Donald Trump did. We, the media, the press, created this monster. I told somebody the other day, I've said it more than once, that old adage that the media builds you up and they tear you down. Wrong. Get your conjunction right. The media builds you up to tear you down, not and tears you down. The point is they making money coming and going. They're making money when they build you up. They're making money when they tear you down. So I'm not so sure I buy the argument that the press is not complicit in the creation of this monster called Donald Trump.
Well, certainly the press is complicit in that, but also Donald Trump, you can argue, manipulated the media. It's not like he was some innocent that was just sitting somewhere.
But is the media that gullible? Are we that gullible? Are we that stupid that he played us?
Well, sure.
There's that part. Okay.
Why would that not be a thing? I mean, the media always follows the shiny object. When has the media not followed the shiny object?
Yeah.
But the media is more than just like the television media, like what you would call CNN. And I think CNN more than anything did it. Look, I hosted the White House Correspondents' Dinner in Obama's last one, and I went after things like Morning Joe. I critiqued them for their coverage on Trump and some of that stuff. So I was doing that in real time to people's face about that before he was president, and predicted he was going to be president. So I agree with you on that. But there's print journalism. There's all kinds of other journalism that is part of the media. When I say media, and when I talk about the fourth estate and its role in the check on democracy, that it has a long-standing role. And sure, there's this symbiotic relationship. Look, the movie network predicted a lot of this in terms of television news, and when it became a profit center rather than, people acknowledged that they were going to lose money on the news, but they didn't care. Yeah. But when it became part of the entertainment division, it became something else. And by the way, Roger Ailes and his creation of Fox News changed things dramatically, where then it was really a race to ratings and what you could do. And that's what changed CNN in many ways, where CNN was way more respected before they had a competitor than when they did, which is kind of crazy also,
Yeah.
So anyhow, yes, I would agree with you that it is more layered than just, this it's not just these justice warriors in the media. I agree with that. You know, who are doing God's work, and we should just bless them all the time.
No, I just think I don't want us to ever be in a mindset that I think is too oversimplistic. And I take your point. As I said earlier, I disagree with it for the most part. It is objectionable to me on so many fronts that Donald Trump has attacked and continues to attack the media the way he does. But I don't think the media has clean hands in this. I think they're complicit. I think they created this individual, this monster. And so I digress on that. But I want to just kind of add that to the conversation.
I will say this. Let me push back a little bit too, because they can't create a monster without a monster constituency. You know,
Agreed.
People have to support Trump. There has to be a simpatico out there.
Yeah.
The avatar that Trump is the avatar for the culture war. That's what he's the avatar for. Is the media? The media just aired that to everybody. You know, but it's not like you could say he created Trump, but they didn't create the followers. You know, those people were waiting for someone like Trump who could stand up to the left and not be bullied by what they thought was an overturning of their culture, quote unquote, from the left. You know, so a lot of what Trump represents is not so much policy, like I was saying, in normal political terms, but to me it's cultural. You know, it's who's the culture warrior as president that people want to get behind, and that's Donald Trump. It's certainly not Joe Biden.
Yeah. Speaking of the media, the press, and Donald Trump, you might have seen your friend Jon Stewart a couple weeks ago. You were obviously a part of the Daily Show. We'll talk about that as we move through this hour. But John went in on the media for the way they're covering Trump all over again, and his point, if I can put it in a nutshell, is have we really learned anything? I mean, we're doing this all over again. His point was that they're turning the media into OJ again, right? The media's turning Trump, rather, into this sort of OJ spectacle again. We're watching this guy go in court and come out of court and this and that. I mean, let's focus on what's being said and done in the courtroom, but they're at it again, creating this spectacle, the comings and the goings, and Stewart went in a way that I don't need to try to, replicate what he said, but you take my point. And so the question is whether or not you think the media has learned anything about how to cover this guy.
Probably not. I mean, Jeff Zucker was running it back then, and he ran NBC, and so he, was more interested in the entertainment part of it. I always say, CNN, every story is breaking news. It's like everything. It's like, hey, it's 12 o'clock, breaking news.
Breaking news.
12 o'clock. Yeah, it's like, I mean, after a while, they literally are breaking news. They've broken it. You broke it, CNN. Congratulations,
wow.
You did it.
Wow.
But so look, I get part of that. I will respectfully disagree with John. I think John is missing some of the point. Like I said about the constituency, there's a reason why Trump has so many people at his rallies. It's not because he's on television, for Christ's sakes. It's not like, because why can't they do that for anybody? Joe Biden's on TV a lot. Why don't they feel the same way? It's not that easy of a thing. It's like when people were saying, because Obama was elected, how these votes, any black person could be president now. It's like, well, no, we would have ran a long time ago. We would have done this a long time ago if this was the case. Obama had followers, people who followed his charisma and the message and all of that stuff,
Yeah.
But I think John underestimates the reason why people are behind Trump. It's not because he's on TV a lot.
Yeah.
That is very shallow as far as I'm concerned.
Nope, I take your point. And I respect the pushback. Just wanted to get your temperature on what John had to say. And now that I've done that, let me move forward. And when we come forward, I was just thinking, as Larry was talking, if you were, visiting him from another planet or something, you heard this first half hour, you would think this guy was his day job is being a political pundit. He obviously is well-versed. He's well-read. He has his own opinions. But you wouldn't necessarily know this is the same guy that helped bring us Insecure and Blackish and the Bernie Mac Show and the PJs and so much more I could talk about. So we'll do that part when we come forward. I'm curious as to how he sees his role as, I would use this term to describe him, a citizen artist. He may like that, may not, we'll see. But I think he's a citizen artist. And there are a lot of artists who don't want to touch the stuff that Larry Wilmore and I were just talking about. So we'll talk about the way he sees his role in the world. We'll talk about his artistic genius and more when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Unapologetically progressive. Unapologetically black. You're tapped into Tavis Smiley.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Thanks for joining us on a Wednesday. I'm Mike Moore. Now, here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Dozens of protesters could be facing charges after the NYPD cleared the protest cams from the grounds of Columbia University. The university on Tuesday night asked the police to clear out the camp for the safety of all students. Police have also been responding to campus unrest in Los Angeles, California, where violence has broken out between pro-Palestinian and pro-Israeli protests at UCLA. In Maryland, Governor Wes Moore will deliver words of encouragement at the University of Maryland later this month. The governor has been asked to serve as the 2024 commencement speaker. Governor Moore is a Maryland native and the state's first black governor. The ceremony is set for May 20th at the SECU Stadium. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Mother's Day is coming up, and Macy's Backstage has amazing deals on great gifts that Mom is going to love, all for $15 and under. Get low prices every day at Macy's Backstage. Find a store near you today at macy'sbackstage.com. Off price, on trend, arriving daily.
Why settle for ordinary when you can have extraordinary hair? Visit your local SoCal FS Cut and Color salon today and let their team of expert stylists pamper you with affordable luxury. Get a free shampoo with every cut. Book your appointment today at fantasticsams.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers don't have to worry about a game-time decision tonight for Kawhi Leonard. The team found out Tuesday afternoon that their leading scorer will not play in Game 5 against Dallas at Crypto.com. Kawhi still has inflammation in his right knee. This will be the third game Kawhi has missed in the first-round series. The Clippers are 2-0 in this series without Kawhi. In the 2 wins, the Clippers are averaging 21 more points and shooting 50%. Don't get it twisted. No one in Clippers Nation is saying the team can contend for the Western Conference title without Kawhi. For the Clippers to go deep in the NBA playoffs, it's pretty much understood that they will need a healthy Kawhi Leonard. 7 p.m. tip-off tonight on TNT. After 1 month of the Major League Baseball season, Dodgers shortstop Mookie Betts leads the majors with a .377 batting average. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Around here, we don't believe in victimhood. We believe in raising our voices, amplifying black voices in the climate conversation. We're KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Girl, I have a secret. When I get stressed out, I get sweaty. That's why I use Secret Clinical Antiperspirant. It's like my own secret weapon. For 72 hours, I get Secret's strongest protection against sweat caused by stress, heat, and activity, because you know how crazy life can get. Plus, it's made with advanced odor fighters that don't just cover up smelliness. They help prevent it from happening in the first place. Believe me, if I weren't wearing Secret, I'd be a hot, smelly mess. Thankfully, Secret works.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley and Larry Wilmore, the producer and actor, comedian and writer. Just a distinguished career. People in this town are envious. Envious of anybody who's had the kind of career that Larry Wilmore has had, and he ain't done. You heard him mention earlier in this program, in case you've just tuned in, he's working on a project now with Ludacris. So he's doing, he's as busy as ever, but I want to just pause at this point in his career to acknowledge and to celebrate what he has done and the duality of the roles that he has played. I said a moment ago, and Larry can respond in a moment and push back or accept it, but I see Larry and a few other people I know in this town as what I would call citizen artists. They are not afraid to inhabit the first part of that nomenclature any more than they're afraid to accept and to lean into the second part, the artist part. But then there are other folk in this town who don't want anything to do with politics. They want to just do their art. They want to please everybody. I'm thinking now of Michael Jordan, who I obviously love and respect, but he and I had a conversation about this many years ago. I didn't like it when they asked him why he wouldn't endorse Harvey Gantt in the race against Jesse Helms, this white supremacist obstructionist out of North Carolina who was being challenged by Harvey Gantt, the black mayor of Charlotte, North Carolina. And they asked Michael Jordan why he wouldn't endorse Harvey Gantt. And he said, Republicans buy tennis shoes too. I ain't forgot that all these years later. Republicans buy tennis shoes too. Well, that may be true, but it's Jesse Helms, Michael. It's Jesse Helms. And there's a brother who has a chance of beating him and sitting in the United States Senate. Again, Michael is entitled, as are all the rest of us, to the way we see the world and our role in it, which just is a preface to ask Larry Wilmore how, Larry Wilmore, you see your role in the world, because you occupy both of those spaces. You speak out as a citizen, and you're clearly an artistic genius.
Oh, thanks, Tavis. It's so nice of you. It's kind of just who I am. I've always been into the news and current events. I remember watching Walter Cronkite with my mom, and I remember my grandmother was big into that type of stuff. One of the biggest honors of my career, I won the Peabody for the Bernie Mac show, and Walter Cronkite gave me the award. It was amazing.
Wow.
And yeah, and of course I had to make a joke about it at the time too, but it was just, a full circle. But yeah, I've always kind of connected those. I always try to, even the PJs, we had political comments in that show that, that were challenging. Bernie Mac, not so much. It was more of a family show, but my political statement was, yeah, this is an intact black family, and it's okay that they have abundance. Like, abundance is okay. We don't have to, have non-abundance, which is always the black story too. Like, we can live in abundance too. I did a special for Netflix called Amend a couple of years ago about the 14th Amendment that I did with Will Smith, and that one, I had never done a docudrama before, a documentary, not docudrama. But just the things I learned from doing it, so it helps me too. It's not just giving out things to other people, but I'm passionate about it, Tavis, and it's something that I enjoy doing more so than I think it's a duty, So I think that's kind of why you know, something I've done for a long time.
I want to run through just a few things. I've mentioned them already, and there are any number of other things I couldn't mention. As I said earlier, if I had the time, I could spend 3 hours just running your credits, man, and I ain't got 3 hours to do that.
Well, I'll mention this one. Reasonable Doubt is a show on Hulu that I'm producing with Kerry Washington right now. We're doing our second season, but people watch the first season. It's a fun show. We got a great second season coming up.
It's on my list. Let me start with that then, since you went there first, because I want to just walk through these and just get you just some basic thoughts on and reflections on some of these things. But first, tell me about Reasonable Doubt for those who've not seen it on Hulu.
Well, Reasonable Doubt, it's more kind of like a soapy legal drama is a good way to explain it. It's more in Kerry Washington's wheelhouse than mine. But I had always wanted to, I'm a big fan of Kerry's, and when I had a deal at Disney, she was over there, and we just met and wanted to do something together. And this is loosely based on Sean Hawley, who was actually in the legal team of the O.J. Simpson trial, which you mentioned earlier, the original one. And Sean is like, she's defended many celebrities and everything. It's very high-profile cases. And so we wanted to do a show loosely based on her. We actually did a network version that didn't go, that was more based on her. But then we kind of rejiggered it for streaming, and now it's just kind of loosely based on her, you know? So I want to make that distinction because there's a lot of things in here that aren't Sean, that she was, hey, wait a minute, I never did that, you know, because this show it's sexy, it's thrilling. The first season, you know, had an interesting storyline, but the second season we're dealing with domestic violence and some issues that are really, you know, very provocative and leads to some really interesting storylines that we hadn't even counted on. But it's really a lot of fun. So I hope people can catch it.
Now I know Sean, and she has distinguished herself in this town, representing, as you said, a lot of high profile clients. I mean, she got that Puffy case right now, so she's speaking for Puffy right now as one of his attorneys.
I don't know if she's still on
is she off that case now?
Right
okay,
now.
okay.
I think so.
Okay.
She was on a very certain
piece of it,
segment of it, you know. Yeah. Exactly.
Well,
there you go. That's the kind of thing that she's not afraid to. I mean, that's some dicey stuff.
Tavis. It is very dicey. And so let me just say, since we're on the record here, and this is public, whatever her role is or was, she was at some point speaking for Puffy in the last couple months, and I'll leave it at that. I don't know what this current situation is. Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Right.
You mentioned the Bernie Mac show. I love Bernie. I miss Bernie. Bernie and I hung out. Of course, had him on my programs any number of times, but I miss Bernie even all these years later. Just say a word to me, since you were there with the Bernie Mac show. Just say a word about Bernie.
Absolutely. Bernie, so at the time I was doing the show, I really wanted to do something different. You know, it's where the Bernie Mac show started. It started with just wanting to do something that was formed different, and that's why it looks the way it looks. I won't go into detail about that, but when I saw Bernie on Kings of Comedy and he talked about taking care of his wife's kids and everything, I mean, not his wife's kids, his sister's kids.
He wants some milk and cookies. He got some milk and cookies.
Yeah. Exactly. It was so funny. I thought, man, and then he dared Hollywood to make his story. I go, I'll make a story. And I had met Bernie before, and I called him and pitched it to him. But when I was developing the show, I spent some time with Bernie. I went to Chicago and I hung out with him and some of his friends. I interviewed his friends. I wanted to know what he was like, you know, back in the day, how he had changed maybe. I went to Vegas with him and I saw his relationship with fans, you know, and people loved him, Tavis. Like they treated Bernie like he was a member of their family. And by the way, Bernie treated them the same way. That's what was special about Bernie, because I know many, and I'm not going to mention names, and there were a couple of other comedians, well, people are going to guess who it is now at this point, but who were the opposite of that. They were the opposite of that. If you looked at them, it was like you killed one of their kids. It's like, what did I do, you know? But it's like, all I did was look at you. But Bernie, he would go up to them. They would say, hey, Bernie Mac. He'd say, hey, man, how you doing? You know, how's it going? And it would make their day, you know? And I was so impressed by that. I was like, wow, you know, Bernie's not kidding around. When you talk about someone who's really a man of the people, he really had that relationship. And you see it in his act. The way, if you go back to Kings of Comedy, the way the audience responds to Bernie is different.
Oh, yeah.
It's just different from everybody else. And there's a reason for that. He's really connected to that audience. And it taught me about authenticity, too, you know, where it's like I was trying to do it up to that point, but it really brought it home in a different way. Like being authentic with your audience and being in that relationship for real and not having a wall between you and the audience, that type of thing.
No, as I said earlier, Larry Wilmore has done it big, and he's still doing it big. He's doing it big now with Kerry Washington on Reasonable Doubt on Hulu. He mentioned earlier his project he's working on with Ludacris. We just talked, obviously, about Bernie Mac and the Bernie Mac Show. When we come forward, let's talk about Insecure and Issa Rae. Let's talk about Blackish and that amazing cast. As I said, people in this town are envious of a career like the one that Larry Wilmore has fashioned. More with him when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good.
Yeah, man.
Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, a Pfizer vaccine.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
More of this rich dialogue with Larry Wilmore, who we're pleased to have on this program today in our first hour. Larry, we talked about Bernie Mac show. I want to talk about Blackish. As I sit here, I mean, I don't do what you do. I don't occupy your space. But if I did, I'd be awfully jealous and envious of you, because it's one thing to have a career where you get one major touchstone. You get one major project that people talk about. Mm-hmm. It runs in syndication. It moves and pushes the culture forward. But to do that multiple times, it just ain't right. It's just cosmically unfair. It's cosmically unfair, Larry Wilmore, to be able to touch that many projects. But talk to me in reflection now about Blackish and what that show you think meant and will mean in the years to come.
Well, sure. I'll combine it with Insecure because I was developing Insecure with Issa in that summer before we did the pilot of Blackish. And it was called Nonprofit at the time. Prophet, actually, was the original name of that. And we had done like maybe 6 drafts of that thing, and a little frustrated. HBO, the process takes really a long time. And in the meantime, ABC had called and said, hey, we really like this script, Blackish, but, Kenya, he's kind of, he hasn't really run a show before, and we need somebody to kind of help supervise the pilot. Would you be willing to do that? And I was like, oh, well, let me take a look at the script. And I read it, and page 1, I was like, oh, man, this thing is fantastic. And I'm like, this is, and it was hilarious. It was bold, and it was in your face, and it like unabashedly just embraced the culture in a way that was not on television at the time, And so I met with Kenya and helped do the pilot and helped develop that show. And in the meantime, I was offered my own show at Comedy Central, the nightly show, which was a once-in-a-lifetime type of thing. So I had to leave Blackish. I stayed there for about 6 months to help launch that first season. And I stayed as a consultant for Insecure, which really hadn't been picked up yet. We hadn't even shot a pilot. We didn't know what was going to happen with that. So all those 3 things happened at once. But Blackish, from the beginning, it's Kenya's take on the Black family and where we are right now, and just the role of parenting and kids, like authenticity. What is Black? What isn't Black? Are you Black enough? Are my kids? Oh no, my kids are Black-ish. They're not even Black. Like, just the value we put on that. That was a new statement. Nobody had ever done that, But we also knew at the time that we had to balance that with a family show, which is what the network was very. The network they were kind of concerned about it, relying so much on its premise. In fact, they wanted to change the title of it, And we went through this whole thing of trying to come up with different titles. And I would always come up with titles that I knew they would reject. That was always my strategy. I mean, that's how you have to do it sometimes.
And I got 45 seconds. We'll continue when we come forward. The strategy in picking titles that they would reject is what? What's that strategy?
It's because we need them. They're going to see how great a title Blackish is,
Yeah.
I learned this from Bernie Mac's show, where Bernie was concerned about using his own name. He said, man, I don't want to use my name. And in my mind, I'm like, are you kidding me? There's no better name than Bernie Mac. So I did a version of the script, Tavis, where it said Bernie Man. Like, I gave him a horrible name. It was just terrible, Bernie Man. And he read that script and he hated it. He said, no, man, let's use my name. And I'm like, yes, let's use your name. Your name is awesome.
I get it. I get it. There's a method to your madness. I get it now. When we come forward in our remaining moments with Larry Wilmore, he said that the original name of the show was Nonprofit, spelled like the prophet, right? Yeah, Nonprofit. I wonder where that came from and why it didn't survive. Our remaining moments with Larry Wilmore when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions.
Kind of like choosing Derek Jeter as the pinch hitter for your baseball team.
Jeter, you're in. We need a home run.
I'll give it a try. I've swung a bat once or twice.
That's out of here.
Yep, even easier than that. With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
Sounds different, huh? This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Larry Wilmore in these final 3 minutes. I've enjoyed this immensely, but the time is coming to a close. Larry Wilmore, tell me about nonprofit. Where did that come from, and why didn't it stick?
Well, you know, it's kind of how shows work. You develop names and stuff. I always like to distill whatever show is down to a simple idea, simple sentence. Like Bernie Mac's show was, kids are terrorists, I don't negotiate with terrorists, right? Like that was what the show was in a simple thing. And Insecure in the beginning was really about someone who didn't know who she was or where she was going. That was kind of what we were working with. And if you remember the show Girls was on HBO at the time, and Lena Dunham, proclaimed herself the voice of a generation or something, you know. And this show was kind of the opposite. This girl's a nonprofit, you know. She had no proclamations to make to anyone, let alone to herself. You know, this is somebody trying to figure things out, someone who's overqualified in a nothing job, you know. And it was more representative of some of the angst that her generation was feeling and that sort of thing. So that's kind of what nonprofit kind of came out of that. But Insecure, after I was doing my own thing and Issa wrote a couple of drafts, it became more of an ensemble type of thing. And Insecure more represented her character a little bit more than Nonprofit was. So I think that's why it changed. So,
I love the title. I love the title Nonprofit. I just wanted to, now that you've explained it, I understand why it was created and how it could have worked, although I like Insecure. It works.
Me too. I think Insecure is better.
In these last 90 seconds, not that you need more work to do, but I want to just put something on your docket. I am craving some more smart black animation, Larry Wilmore.
All right. Well, let's hope something comes our way. I mean, I did that. I already did that. I am not going backwards, Tavis. I am going forward. So I'm looking to do new things for us to do, not go back and visit old ones.
No, I ain't mad at you. He has as he said, he's been there, done that, got the T-shirt. But I really am craving some more smart black animation. I love that stuff. And
I understand.
Yeah, Larry did it well. Of course, everything that Larry does, he does well. Whether it's Insecure or Blackish or the Bernie Mac show or his show on Comedy Central, the PJs, Reasonable Doubt with Kerry Washington, the Ludacris Project forthcoming, and whatever else is forthcoming on his docket. Larry, thank you for your work. And I use this phrase a lot, but I think it applies to you. Thank you for your work and your witness. I'll leave it at that, your work and your witness. And it's good to have had you on this program. Thank you for the time, sir.
Thank you, Tavis. It's nice to hear you out there on the Old School Radio.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. More of Tavis Smiley on Old School Radio when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Thanks for joining us on a Wednesday. I'm Mike Moore. Now, here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Dozens of protesters could be facing charges after the NYPD cleared the protest cams from the grounds of Columbia University. The university on Tuesday night asked the police to clear out the cam for the safety of all students. Police have also been responding to campus unrest in Los Angeles, California, where violence has broken out between pro-Palestinian and pro-Israeli protests at UCLA. In Maryland, Governor